Welcome to Preschool Storytime with Librarian Jeanne. That's me, Librarian Jeanne from the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. So, can you believe it's almost the end of July? That means summer reading is almost over. It's not too late to record all your reading that you've done since the beginning of June and to sign up on our website at www.santacruzpl.org. And now, let's sing our hello song. Hi, hello, and how are you? How are you? How are you? Hi, hello, and how are you? How are you today? Well, I'm pretty good. How are you? I didn't hear you. Let's sing it a little bit one more time. Let's sing it. And adults, if you would sing along with your children and help them learn the words in the tune, that'd be great. Once more. Hi, hello, and how are you? How are you? How are you? Hi, hello, and how are you? How are you today? I'm pretty good, and I have a little red house. Do you have red on? I do. I have red stripes on my shirt today. And in my little red house, there is a little yellow house. I don't have any yellow on, and I've got a lot of noise. Oh, it's a yellow truck that just drove by. You couldn't see it, but I did. And in the little yellow house, there is a little green house. I don't have green on, but I have lots of green behind me. Green ivy and green trees. And in the little greenhouse, there's a little blue house. I do have blue on. See my blue stripes on my shirt? And in the little blue house, there is a little pink house. I don't have pink on. Do you have pink on? And in the little pink house, there is a little gray house. Could have gray sweatpants on. And in the little gray house, there is a little purple house. One of my favorite colors, but I don't have that on today either. And in the little purple house, there is a little orange house. Do you have orange on? It's a pretty bright color, isn't it? And in the little orange house, last but not least, there's the little white house. What do you think is in the little white house? It's probably going to be something about summer reading, don't you think? Let's open it. Oh, it is. There's our cat reading a book, our symbol of our summer reading program. Imagine your story. Don't forget, keep reading. Now, today I'm going to read a non-fiction book. That means that it's a book, a true story, a book with facts, and it's called Brilliant Deep, Rebuilding the World's Coral Reefs by Kate Messner, illustrated by Matthew Forsythe, used with permission of Chronicle Books. So let's see, it's what do you see on the cover? There's somebody with a snorkel and diving in the ocean, it looks like. The Brilliant Deep, Rebuilding the World's Coral Reefs. The story of Ken Neda and the Coral Restoration Foundation. This sounds like a book about what they do to protect coral reefs. It starts with one. One night, after a full moon, the corals begin to spawn, releasing first one, then millions of tiny lives until the waters swirl like a snow globe. Some become food for hungry fish. Some are washed into the deep sea. Some drift in the currents until they come to rest, not too deep, on the ocean floor. If one is lucky, it lands in a place where it can grow. This one will be a coral reef. Ken Neda grew up in near the Florida's Kennedy Space Center, watching America race to the moon. Before men took off in rockets, Ken's father worked as a NASA engineer. Ken watched his father's team send unmanned rockets, Little Joe, Redstone, Atlas, toward the stars. Men followed, Alan Shepard, John Glenn. It seemed like just about anything might be possible if you set your mind to it. What do you think he's thinking about? But Ken's dreams weren't for the stars. He loved the ocean. He watched TV shows about underwater explorer Jacques Cousteau. He visited the beach whenever he could, swimming far out to a world of angelfish and sea stars. The reefs of the Florida Keys teemed with life. They painted the ocean floor fire red and murky gold. How could reefs grow so large? What made all the different colors and shapes? How could such tiny creatures build such elaborate homes of rock? All good questions, don't you think? Ken learned to scuba dive and began collecting fish to keep and study at home. At one point, he had 30 aquariums in his bedroom, all bursting with life. I don't think my bedroom's big enough for 30 aquariums. Ken's favorite place was always out on the reef until things began to change. What do you think happened? One summer, hotter than the rest, Ken noticed the corals were losing their color, and there weren't as many fish. The sea urchins had started to die. They are the gardeners of the reef, tiny groundskeepers who control the algae. But Ken didn't know that at the time. Even scientists didn't understand what an important role the sea urchins played until they were gone. Ken watched his favorite place in the world begin to fade. The reefs were dying. It seemed there was nothing he could do to save them. Look, this is what sea urchins look like when they're living and taking care of the reef. This is what they look like after they've died. That's their exoskeleton, the skeleton that's on the outside of their body. But one day that changed. Ken was all grown up, operating a live rock farm in the Florida Keys. Live rocks aren't really alive. They're rocks covered with algae, mollusks, sponges, and other invertebrates. They're used in saltwater aquariums as decoration and to filter waste from the water, turning poisons like ammonia and nitrates into harmless compounds. This makes the water safer and healthier. for everything that lives in it. And growing them is really just a matter of patience, placing rows of bare rocks on the ocean floor and waiting for the marine life to move in. So he's making a place where that marine life can come back and live. One moonlit night, a nearby coral colony spawned, and a few of those delicate lives found their way to Ken's rocks. They grew into Staghorn Coral. Staghorn corals are protected, illegal to take from the ocean floor, but the law says if a coral colony grows on a live rock form, the owner can keep it. Ken could have sold his specimens to someone with a saltwater aquarium, but instead, he and his daughter had an idea. As the corals grew, they cut off pieces and attached those pieces to other rocks. They discovered they could use those first colonies to grow more and more corals. What would happen if someone grew a coral colony and then tried to plant it on a dying reef? Would it grow? Could that colony help rebuild the reefs Ken loved? Could a reef come back to life? Ken made plans to go to the reef where he loved diving as a kid to find out. He selected his coral colonies, he loaded his scuba gear and supplies, and set out for the reef. One hopeful dive, one optimistic experiment. 6 small coral colonies, each one the size of a hand with fingers outstretched, were glued onto limestone surface where a reef had once flourished and now was bleached and barren. Would they grow? What do you think? Ken and his friends came back to check on the coral colonies again and again. Each month, they'd grown larger. It was too soon to say if the reef would fully recover, if the fish would return. But it was a beginning. Ken started a group called the Coral Restoration Foundation, a small army of volunteers on a mission to restore the reefs. They hang bits of coral on a special underwater trees and lines where the coral can grow. When these corals are large enough, these are farm-raised colonies, are loaded onto boats with volunteers, dive equipment, and tools. Then it's time to build a new home, one the corals will build. Volunteers take great care with this homecoming. They search for just the right spot, a place where each coral colony can hold on once it's grown enough to attach to the reef on its own. Divers scrape off any algae. They use chipping hammers, scraping and banging to get the surface even and smooth. See? What's he doing there? Then with a careful dab of epoxy, that's a kind of glue, just the size of a Hershey's Kiss, volunteers attach the coral colonies, piece by piece, arm by arm, hoping they'll grow on their own. Today, the transplants are not only surviving, but also reproducing. Ken's group has planted tens of thousands of coral colonies on the reefs in the Florida Keys. And now, he's working with other countries, teaching people how to grow corals on their own to save the reefs that they love. Tonight, the moon will be full and bright. The corals may spawn. And if one tiny life lands in just the right spot, another new colony will grow, and then another, and another, and another. It starts with one. So this is the story of how one boy, had a dream, and when he became a man, he put it into effect. And this book also has some information that you might want to know. It's got a coral reef vocabulary and a section about how kids can help, and also other articles that you might want to read. So if you want to get this book from the Santa Cruz Public Libraries or any other library, you can find out more about how to restore our coral reefs. So we're going to sing a silly song now about fish, because fish live in the reefs. It's to the tune of Frere Jacques. Fish are swimming in the sea, a splishing and a splashing, a splishing and a splashing. Look and see, look and see. Let's sing that one more time. Fish are swimming in the sea, splishing and a splashing, splishing and a splashing. Look and see, look and see. And now it's the end of our story time. It's time to sing our goodbye song. If you're happy and you know it, and we'll wave goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, wave goodbye, goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, wave goodbye, goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, wave goodbye, goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Goodbye. Goodbye, friends. I'll see you next week. Don't forget to continue reading, and imagine your story. And go to www.santacruzpl.org for more information about our summer reading program that's almost over, and things that you can do as part of the summer reading program, and to get books. Bye-bye.